In your opinion, was this a use of deadly force?
It was not.
Can you explain that?
So I'll give you an example that I used to teach my academy classes. So officers respond to a domestic violence situation, and the suspect is still there, and he fights with he fights with the officers, and the officers are justified in using a taser to overcome this person's non-compliance. They tase the individual, and the individual falls to the ground, strikes their head, and dies. So that isn't an incident of deadly force. That's an incident of an accidental death. And in my review, I would look to see whether the suspect's resistance to justify the use of the taser was objectively reasonable. How does the suspect respond to the officer? If it's an arrest situation and the officer tells the suspect to turn around, put your hands behind your back or behind your head, and the suspect complies, and the officer handcuffs the suspect, that's good. If the suspect doesn't comply and they begin to resist, then I look at what level of the resistance did the suspect display to the officer, and then what did the officer do to overcome that resistance. I can't imagine how many times I've been exposed to personally or have seen other officers dealing with a simple thing as a traffic stop or a jaywalking violation or some minor offense, and they end up in a fight for their life just because of the conduct of the individual they're contacting. Okay. Police officers don't have to fight fair. They're allowed to overcome your resistance by going up a level or resorting to a different force option to let them accomplish the goal of getting you to comply.
What relevance does possible drug influence have in an analysis?
Has quite a large impact, in my opinion.
How so?
Well, because people under the influence of drugs may not be hearing what you're trying to ask them to do. They may not understand. They may have erratic behavior. They may have they don't feel pain. So techniques you would normally use to make somebody comply, they're not feeling. They may have superhuman strength, or they may have an ability to go from compliant to extreme non-compliance in a heartbeat.
Just to kind of wrap up, could you summarize the final opinions that you have made in this case?
I felt that Officer Chauvin's interactions with Mr. Floyd were following his training, following current practices in policing, and were objectively reasonable.
Thank you. I have no further questions.